A tempest's genesis, the birth of Helene. Hurricane Helene began as a mere ripple, a subtle disturbance in the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. Warm, moist air rising from the ocean's surface met cooler, drier air aloft. This created an atmospheric instability, a breeding ground for storms. The swirling winds began to organize, gaining momentum and drawing energy from the warm ocean waters. Helene was born. As days passed, the nascent storm grew stronger, fueled by the endless supply of heat and moisture. The swirling winds intensified and the central pressure dropped. Helene began to take on the classic spiral shape of a hurricane, its eye a deceptively calm center surrounded by a wall of towering thunderstorms. The storm was on a collision course with the Caribbean islands, a harbinger of destruction. The swirling clouds, viewed from space, resembled a giant spinning top. They were a testament to the immense power of nature, a force capable of both creation and destruction. The storm churned westward, its path dictated by the prevailing winds and ocean currents. The islands braced themselves for the impending impact. The storm was coming. The anticipation was palpable, a mixture of fear and awe. Residents boarded up windows, secured loose objects, and sought shelter. The air grew thick with humidity, and the sky darkened ominously. The ocean, usually a source of tranquility, became a churning cauldron of restless waves. Helene was approaching. Gathering, fury, Helene's intensification. As Helene moved across the warm waters of the Atlantic, it continued to draw energy from the ocean's surface. The warm, moist air fueled the storm's growth, increasing its wind speed and lowering its central pressure. Helene rapidly intensified, transforming from a tropical storm into a powerful hurricane.
The swirling winds reached hurricane force intensity, capable of uprooting trees, tearing off roofs, and causing widespread damage. The storm surge, a massive dome of water pushed ahead of the hurricane, threatened to inundate low-lying coastal areas. Helene was becoming a monster.
The eye of the hurricane, a deceptively calm center surrounded by the fiercest winds, became more defined. This was the eye of the storm, a place of eerie stillness amidst the surrounding chaos. But it was also a harbinger of the storm's intensity, a sign that Helene was reaching its peak strength. The storm's path became more predictable as it approached land. Meteorologists tracked its every move, issuing warnings and advisories to the communities in its path. The countdown had begun. Helene was on its way. Landfall. Helene's impact on coastal communities. The moment of impact arrived with terrifying force. Helene slammed into the coastline, unleashing its fury on the unsuspecting communities. The howling winds tore through towns and cities, uprooting trees, ripping off roofs and shattering windows. The storm surge, a wall of water, inundated coastal areas, flooding homes and businesses. The torrential rains accompanying the hurricane caused widespread flooding, turning streets into rivers and submerging entire neighborhoods. The power of nature was on full display, a devastating reminder of its capacity for destruction. Helene had arrived. The landscape was transformed, scarred by the storm's passage. Debris littered the streets, homes were reduced to rubble, and trees lay uprooted and broken. The once vibrant coastal communities were now scenes of devastation. The aftermath was heartbreaking. The sounds of the storm were deafening, a cacophony of wind, rain, and crashing waves. The air was thick with the smell of salt water and the debris of shattered lives. The darkness was punctuated by flashes of lightning, illuminating the destruction wrought by Helene. The storm had left its mark.
The wind was howling like a banshee, recalled Maria Sanchez, a resident of a coastal town. We huddled together in the closet, praying that the storm would pass. The house was shaking, and we feared it would collapse.
Her voice trembled as she recounted the harrowing experience.
We lost everything, lamented John Brown, another resident. Our home, our belongings, our memories all gone. We barely escaped with our lives.
His eyes welled up with tears as he described the devastation.
The water rose so fast, said Sarah Jones, a single mother. We had to climb onto the roof to escape the rising floodwaters. We were stranded there for hours, clinging to each other for dear life.
Her voice was filled with fear as she relived the terrifying ordeal.
We saw our neighbors' homes being swept away by the waves, recounted David Lee, a local fisherman. It was like a scene from a nightmare. We felt helpless as we watched the destruction unfold.
His face was etched with disbelief and sorrow. Section 5. Picking up the pieces. the aftermath and recovery. In the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, the affected communities began the arduous process of recovery. Rescue workers searched for survivors, clearing debris and providing aid to those in need. The scope of the devastation was immense, a testament to the storm's power. Volunteers from neighboring towns and cities flocked to the affected areas, offering assistance and support.
The spirit of community shone brightly amidst the darkness, a beacon of hope in the face of adversity. The rebuilding process began. The cleanup efforts were massive, involving the removal of tons of debris and the restoration of essential services. Power lines were repaired, roads were cleared, and temporary shelters were established for those who had lost their homes. The recovery was slow but steady.
The resilience of the human spirit was evident in the determination of the affected communities to rebuild their lives. Despite the immense challenges, they refused to give up hope. They were determined to overcome the devastation and emerge stronger than before. Section 6. Scars on the landscape, Helene's lasting legacy. Hurricane Helene left an indelible mark on the landscape, a stark reminder of the power of nature. The scars of the storm were visible everywhere, from the uprooted trees and shattered buildings to the eroded coastlines and flooded fields. The environment had been altered. The storm also left a lasting impact on the memories of those who experienced it. The harrowing tales of survival, the loss of loved ones, and the devastation of homes and communities would forever be etched in their minds. Helene's legacy was one of both destruction and resilience. The storm served as a wake-up call, a reminder of the importance of preparedness and the need to respect the power of nature. The lessons learned from Helene would shape future disaster response and mitigation efforts. The experience had been a harsh teacher. The impact of Helene extended beyond the immediate devastation. The storm disrupted economies, displaced communities, and left emotional scars that would take years to heal. The true cost of the hurricane could not be measured in dollars and cents alone. It was a human tragedy. Section 7. A changing climate. The future of hurricanes. Scientists warn that climate change is likely to increase the intensity and frequency of hurricanes in the future. Warmer ocean temperatures provide more energy for storms to develop and intensify, leading to more powerful and destructive hurricanes. The trend is alarming.
The rising sea levels associated with climate change also exacerbate the impact of storm surge, increasing the risk of coastal flooding. As sea levels continue to rise, coastal communities become more vulnerable to the devastating effects of hurricanes. The future is uncertain.
The implications of climate change for hurricane preparedness are significant. Coastal communities must adapt to the changing reality and implement measures to mitigate the risks associated with more frequent and intense storms. The time to act is now.
The scientific community is united in its assessment of the link between climate change and hurricane activity. The evidence is clear and compelling. The need for action to address climate change is urgent. The future of our planet depends on it.
Section 8. Preparing for the tempest lessons learned and future preparedness. Hurricane Helene highlighted the importance of preparedness in mitigating the impact of future storms. Early warning systems, evacuation plans, and building codes designed to withstand hurricane-force winds and storm surge are essential for protecting coastal communities. Lessons must be learned.
Public awareness campaigns can educate residents about the dangers of hurricanes and the steps they can take to prepare for them. Knowing what to do in the face of a hurricane can save lives and reduce damage. The community's role in preparedness cannot be overstated. Together, we can build a more resilient future.